Alright, so in this video we're going to see how to make a fridge magnet with a 3D model from Thingiverse as a relief. So the first thing you're going to do is go to Thingiverse and find the model. In this case I'm going to be using a temple, so I'm going to go to this one. You find the file you want. We're going to work with an STL. In this case, this particular file is the only one that he has as a WDG, so I converted it to an STL in Fusion. But hopefully the one you find is just an STL. Once you have your file downloaded, you're going to go to Blender. We're just going to start a new one. First thing we'll do is delete the cube, and then we're going to import an STL. Here's my STL file. Import STL. You zoom out usually, or zoom in to find it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to position it in the center and rotate it so that from the top, or looking down from the Z, it's the position and perspective we want. So we're going to click on Z here, and then we're going to use this to move it. Doesn't have to be exact. Those are going to 3D printing jobs. So then we're going to rotate it. Yeah, that's a pretty good angle right there. Alright, I like that rotation. I'm going to position it back in the center here. Alright, so yeah, that looks okay. Now while we have the model selected, we're going to press Ctrl A, and we're going to set this as the new rotation. So now you'll see the rotation is zeroed out here. That's what we want. And then we're going to go to the side. You notice it looks kind of wonky, right? Because we've rotated it. Now it's like standing on its corner here. We want to squish it to roughly the thickness we're going to want, probably right around there. We're going to position it just above that axis right there. Okay, so now from the side it looks squished, but from the top it looks the way we want. Okay, so that's about the size and position that we want in rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the camera set up because we're going to capture a mist pass on this. So we're going to go to camera, we're going to go to data right here. We're going to change it from a perspective camera to an orthographic camera. Then we're going to go to object, we're going to zero out the rotation. Now the camera is underneath here, so we're going to move the camera. So for some reason I can't get the arrows to work with the camera, so we're just going to do the location here. So we're going to change its Z to be just above the model. Right about there is good. You want to make a note of this, so it looks like about 22, so we're going to change that to 22. Now we need to change the size so it encompasses the entire temple. So we're going to go back to data, and we're going to adjust the size here. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want to make sure it includes the entire thing. So we're going to adjust the location again. So we have it sized, positioned. Okay, we're going to go to view layer, and we're going to make sure we have mist and Z enabled. I'm going to go back to the side view here. So you're going to go to data, viewport display, enable mist. Okay, so this shows you the path that the camera is going to follow. Then we're going to go back to world. We want it to start at 0. We want it to start right at the camera. And we did a height of 22, so we're going to do a depth where the camera is located at 22. So we're just going to go from the camera all the way down to this axis here. Okay, so now we have the camera set up. It's going to do a mist pass, so it's going to go from the top to the bottom. Now we're ready to do it. So we're going to do F12, which will pull up the render view. We're not going to do combine, we're just going to do mist. And this is what we want. We have a black and white, or a grayscale rather, image of the temple, right? Based on the depth from the camera. So we're going to go to image, save as, and then we can close this window. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and close this in case we do need to come back for any reason. Or save it, and then I'm going to close it. Open Blender back up. Alright, so I have an empty file. Delete the cube. we're going to add a plane. On the plane, we're going to go to modifiers. We're going to add a modifier, generate subdivision surface. Simple. We want high resolution. We're going to change this to 11. Add a modifier, deform, displace. I'm going to say new. Go here, click on this. Open. Find our picture. Open image. Okay. So now we can see that on our plane here, we have our temple picture. You'll notice that it inverted the picture. So we're going to go back to modifiers. We're going to change the strength to a negative. So now it's oriented the way we want. But it's too thick, right? We don't want it that thick. So we're going to change the strength from a -1. We're going to go for a -0.4. Okay, yeah, I like that. It's nice and 3D. So now, but it's a little squished. So we're going to scale it to be right about where we want it. Oops. So now we're going to create the part that's going to connect to the fridge. So we're going to use a cylinder. So we're going to add mesh cylinder, adjust the size. Sometimes you gotta do this in more than one step. Position it here, make sure it looks the way you want. Now obviously it doesn't encompass the entire temple yet, so we're going to stretch it. Encompasses the entire temple, and we're going to position it. Poking out. Okay, so I have it right on the edge there. If you look, the temple is completely surrounded by the cylinder. We are going to combine these two, so we're going to have with the cylinder selected, we're going to add a modifier, we're going to generate Boolean, we're going to do a union with an object, we're going to click on this little square, we're going to choose our plane. It'll take a while. You can see down here, just faintly, there's some thinking going on. Alright, so it's done the union. Now we need to make sure that we apply. Okay. Now, if we move, we can see this is all nice with one piece. Put it back where it was. So we don't need the plane anymore, so we're going to go ahead and delete the plane. Alright. So now we have our magnet. Now we have this extra plane sticking out here. We don't really want that. So we're going to cut that off. To do that, we're going to add a cube. We're going to make sure it encompasses the entire plane. And we're going to position it so it's just barely covering the plane. And we're going to take our cylinder, add modifier, Boolean. This time we're doing difference. For our object, we're going to use the cube. Okay, so we're going to do difference with the cube, exact. We're going to apply. So now if I hide the cube, we can see we get rid of that plane there. So we're going to go ahead, we don't need the cube anymore. We're going to delete it. Now, that's a little thinner than I wanted. So, I'm going to go to, okay, so we're going to choose face select. Select this face. We're going to extrude. Make sure we're extruding the right amount. That was pretty good. Then we're going to go back into object mode. Okay, so now we have that. So the last thing we're going to do is put an inset in the back for the magnet to go in. So we're going to add another cylinder. We're going to shrink it to position it high. We want it about halfway in there. And then we want to make sure that it's centered. That's a little too tall, so we're going to shrink that. Position it. That's pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now we're going to select our original cylinder again. We're going to add a modifier. We're going to do a generate Boolean. We're going to do difference. Object is going to be the other cylinder. Then we are going to apply. Alright. And now if we look, if we hide this cylinder, we'll see we have a nice little inset in there. So we're going to delete that cylinder. We don't need that anymore. So now it's finished. Our model is finished. We got the temple. It's in 3D. It's on the back. We got a hole for the magnet. So we're going to save. We're going to go to export as STL. Call it magnet 2, so export STL. Then we're going to open Cura. In Cura, we're going to open the STL we just generated. Control A to select it all. It's really small. That's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to do it on the Y. We want it to be 2.5 inches, which is 63.5 millimeters. Alright, it's looking good. Since we have that inset, we are going to generate supports. So generate support, we'll just leave it at normal. And I also always do building plate adhesion. We're going to do a raft at 5 millimeters. Then we're going to slice. And if we preview, we're going to make sure that it's doing the inside properly. We can see that it's doing the inside fill without any interruptions or anything. And it is generating supports. So we're going to save to removable disk. Eject. Alright, so here's the finished product. You can see it's got the nice shape of the temple there. It's in 3 dimensions. It's a little rough. If anybody has any suggestions on how to do that smoother, I'd love to hear it. On the back, we can see we have the nice inset for the magnet. I hope this has been helpful and that you enjoy making your fridge magnets.